So, lads, who wants to kick us off? Who's got?
Yeah,
you've been excited, yeah?
Because the biggest conversation piece with exit is retirement.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest issues is not enough people even know what their retirement age is.
Let's talk about it.
And most of us, we all know with the government, the retirement age is probably going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, or older and older.
Yeah, look at France right now.
Just talked, exactly.
So even by that same token, the first conversation piece is what time are you even going to be retiring, what age?
Yeah.
And working backwards. So even as a coach, in terms of helping different people across different facets in life, from relationships to wealth, as well as just personal happiness, it's important to think about the end as you're working on the present. So having that end in mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So a lot of us as humans, we may not think about retirement until we're maybe 10 years away, maybe at most 15 years away, or maybe even 5 years away.
Yeah.
But there's a lot you can get done if you're mindful of it right now. Most of us feel like what stops us is we need to get to a certain point earning wise before you can start thinking about the end in mind, even though you can start a lot sooner.
Agreed. That's a really good point. I think like sometimes a lot of us also, I think it's really hard to think about something that's so far away, right? Like, who wants to plan 40 years in advance, right? You're trying to hustle or grind and you want to get results in the short term, but you know, like time moves. And I think like thinking about those long-term things and trying to do things in, you know, not right now, especially when you're like thinking about long-term planning, it doesn't take a lot and doesn't take as much as we might think. And really sometimes that kind of conversation gets a bit lost, doesn't it?
Fact. There was a sick book that touches on that same concept called Start Late, Finish Rich by David Bark. Cold book, because most of the time the people I speak to, they may feel like, oh, it's a bit too late for me to start doing this advice right now. There will be no point, I might as well just continue unless I'm hit a windfall or something of them sorts.
Okay. And like one of the key things that we were discussing was this concept of starting small and putting small bits of kind of money away from right now.
100%. And even with that, the biggest step or the first step is one, acknowledge if you started late, forgive yourself.
Yeah. yes. Be kind.
Please.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up about, all this information I'm learning now, I should have done when I was 19 and I'm 37 or 42 now. Start with forgiving yourself. And then from that point, it often starts with just really looking at what you are spending and compare that to what it looks like if you've invested it over a period of time.
Yeah.
So let's say most of the common conversations is maybe a cup of coffee. And cup of coffee, for those who are massive coffee drinkers, that might come up to maybe £100 a month. But that £100 a month over 20 years invested with, say, a 7% annual return is significantly more. Let's highball the number and let's say it's something like 50, 60, 80 grand.
Yeah.
Maybe even more.
You know, let me add a bit of context to that, right? So I've been thinking about this specific thing quite a bit recently, actually. And so just obviously, you know, we often have to look back, right, to think about the future. And so I used my best friend, ChatGPT. So I was like, all right, let's say I had 20K in 2011, right? And let's say I put it into, let's say 15, 16 different stocks, blue chip stocks, right?
What's a blue chip stock, by the way?
Blue chip stocks tend to be like tier one companies, right? Companies
Apples,
with
Googles,
Microsoft, the big banks, things like that, right?
So you choose 20 of those, that you're going to put
Exactly, yeah. So then I asked her, right, over 10 years, right, compounded, how much would that, my 20K investment in 2011, how much would that be by 2021?
Go on.
Oh,
okay, let's guess. Let's have a guess. Okay.
If I had to guess, maybe 150.
Oh,
150K,
cool.
Yeah.
Go on, sir.
I would say probably lower, like maybe like 60K, like a free extra term, maybe like 60K, 300%, yeah.
Close, you guys were close. 2.2 mil.
Oh, wait.
Damn.
You're saying 20K invested, was that 10 years ago?
20K invested in 2011,
2011.
right, could have been up to 2.2. Obviously, there's a couple of caveats, right? So it depends on the companies,
Yeah.
right? And that's not always going to be guaranteed. But the numbers are, the thing that's important and interesting about that is, one, the compounding. That's the thing that really why like small amounts of money invested over a long duration actually end up being huge amounts of money, right? Because when you invest money and it continues to grow, what's growing is the compound, right? So that's a compound investing. That's really like the secret sauce to unlocking a lot of value. If you think about interest rates, right? Let's say you had £1,000 and you made, let's say, 5% interest a year on it, right? In the first year, you only get 1,000 plus 5%. But the second year, it's 1,000 and £50 plus 5% if you didn't add any more money. So the compounding alone, right, actually contributes to like a significant growth. And then when you start considering things like the continuous payment into these investment vehicles you're using, then honestly, it's like, yeah, big numbers.